Hey, what are you doing? Good morning.
What's up?
It is time for Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day in all the automotive enthusiast auction sites, including Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Shiftgate, Marked, whoever the heck else decides to create a new auction site. We dig around all those auction sites and find the most interesting car of the day, and we jibber jab about that. That's something that we do. Along with Michael Deeb right there. That's my partner.
What's up?
There's his
What's
name.
up, JP?
How you doing,
Yep.
Michael
Oh,
Deeb
yeah.
in San Francisco?
Looks just like me. Just hanging out in the dining room studios in the Richmond district. But yeah, here we are. Let's do it again.
All right. I apologize for the old man candy. I got my cough drops.
Oh.
So if you're hearing me click around on that, and I typically slur my words. I'm kind of like the president. I'm not really very articulate, and I don't know where I am half the time. And so, I don't know. It's made worse by having these stupid cough drops. I don't know if they're doing anything or not, but Thanks for hanging out with us. Have you hit the subscribe, like, or notification button yet? If you haven't, do so now. Look at that.
Use your Hulk fist to punch, to smash that subscribe, like button, and then send it to a friend. Tell your friend that nerds are back. They might not know yet.
I mean, everyone wants to get fisted by Michael Deeb. Besides that thing.
Okay. Yeah, Jesus. Maybe that's how we get Camissa on the show.
He went there. I think we're going to be talking a lot of about some of the car pundits today. I mean, we typically do anyway, but I think this car that we're talking about today is one of the most interesting cars of the day. Not just because of what the car is, but because of who's kind of making these popular now. Michael Deeb, what is the car of the day? What do we got here?
Okay, Bella Macchina. What we're looking at is a 1986 Ferrari 328 GTB on Bring a Trailer. This car is being represented by the seller Griot's Motors of Tacoma, Washington. Do you know those guys, JP?
Yeah, I do. I didn't know they were selling cars. It's funny looking at the background. All of a sudden, it's like I know exactly where that pipe is. I've been there many times.
Yeah, so they are representing this car. The car
it's Griot's, by the way. It's Griot's.
Oh,
Griot's. The T is silent. The T is silent.
Yeah, as in Target.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this car was sold originally. I know, we tried. Originally at Symbolic Ferrari in La Jolla, California, down there in San Diego. And then the car has spent a little bit of time in British Columbia and Alberta prior to being with the current owner now in Washington. The car is showing just 27,000 miles, and I want to take issue with your buddies at Griot Motors because they say that this 1986 Berlinetta is one of 1,300. And I am telling you, JP, that is not correct. I did my own research on the car, and I'm showing it as one of like 370 fixed roof 86 328s. This car is really rare. I would suggest that the 1,300 number is either for the GTS or the number of Berlinettas they made over the course of the entire 328 line. But it's certainly that number is incorrect for just the 1 year. The car, I think, is much rarer than that. Looks to be in spectacular condition. The low miles and the panel gaps, the interior. There's a nice little startup video, and they go through very gently. They kind of go through all the lights and blinkers and windows and horns and pop the hood and stuff. It's all in there, and it's really nice. I listen. Manual Ferraris are going through the roof. I prefer the coupes. I'm not a cabriophobe, but I think that this is a prettier car, and certainly by the production numbers, it's the rarer car than the Targa topped GTS. I like this car a lot, and they are starting to go through the roof. So, John, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about why you would also like this car. Even though you're a diehard Porsche guy, I bet this Ferrari you would get it up for. And then when we go over the numbers, I think you're going to have to sit back down because I think that the price of what this car is going to go for is going to shock you. These have been unloved cars for 40 years, and now they're going through the roof. So, JP, take it away.
One of the first Ferraris I ever had the joy of driving was a car identical to this one. And it was in Washington State, so hell, could have been the same one. I don't even know. But it wasn't as spectacular as I had hoped it would be when driving, except, rowing through those gears is just so much fun. You just can't help it, even though you're not really doing a whole lot. And in all honesty, I didn't drive the car in any kind of anger. It wasn't a car that I owned, so I was trying to be very nice and polite to the owner who was kind enough to let me drive it. I'm with you on the hardtop thing. It is absolutely the better looking of all varieties. If you guys know me, I'm a huge convertible fan. I would absolutely rather have a GTS with the target top because I think this car not having the roof just makes it that much more fun. You're experiencing the air end. I think the target top version of this car is like the perfect combination of open top and coupe, kind of like. But from a value point of view and pure aesthetic, nothing beats a hardtop. That is just one of the greatest looking cars of all time. You have driven one of these in anger, Michael Deeb. What would this car be like going down the Angeles Crest versus, say, the same year 911?
Horrible. Any G-body 911 would run circles around this car, and I mean that sincerely. These cars are a little bit heavy. The weight is high. The gearbox is very difficult to use. If you don't own one, and if you haven't mastered rowing one of these gated shifters, it takes you twice as long to execute a shift. It's like you time your revs, you put in the clutch, and then you have to take inventory of the road ahead of you because you're going to take your eyes off the road. And now you're going to look down at the carpet in the inside of the car and try to figure out which way you're about to throw this thing. And then it's fighting you the whole time. It's not an easy shift. So this car takes a lot to drive, and it's not easy to drive fast. And then inevitably, you're probably driving somebody else's car, so you're mindful of that as well. So this is not a car I would recommend almost to anybody. They're not great cars. Interesting things. 86 was the first year of the 328 after the last version of the 308. When this car debuted, JP, it had 27 onboard computers, and somebody had the nerve to write an article and suggest that this was the most technically advanced car in the world, because at the time, no other production car in the universe had 27 onboard computers. And that is a fact I remember from being 16 years old in high school and reading Road and Track. I remember reading that verbatim, 27 onboard computers, and it was more advanced than anything else. And yet you and I would laugh at how pathetically analog is. There are some cool pieces. I do love the little wing spoiler on the back. I love the design of the Speedline wheels, the 16-inch wheels that are on this car. That is, in fact, a authentic Momo steering wheel that was made by Momo for Ferrari for this model. And I'm sure there are features on that Momo that make it unique to this car. Really cool stuff. The car sounds great. It looks lovely, but it would not be my choice to be a driver or a back road partner. Very unsophisticated dynamics with regards to the way that the suspension is constructed and where the motor sits, and that shifter is just a pain in the ass. So I'll take a 911 all day long, but when we roll up to Cars and Coffee, we're walking over to this car first. It's just hot. It's really gorgeous, but I don't want to dance with it.
What? I mean, you're saying, or they said, it was the most technologically advanced car ever, and
because of the number of computers.
This is of the era of the 959. I mean,
but they don't think the 959 is like a real car, because in those days it was unobtainium in the U.S., right? And so the 959 was almost like an exercise in Germany. It wasn't like a real car, but like a real car that you could buy in the United States. This was, they were like, there's 27 computers. They were really trying to play it up. I mean, this car's kind of a laughable joke, and it's high maintenance. It's really nice to see one in this condition, and the values as a collector piece are astonishing. These cars have languished as $60,000 cars for years. That is not the case anymore.
Well, is that Matt Farah's fault or some of the other YouTubers that are out there that have gotten these recently? I think Hoovie's Garage and all the internet D-bags seems to be the car of choice. And yeah, I just called Matt Farah and Tyler Hoovie D-bags. I did it, and
they have deep bags of cash to buy cars we wish we owned. That's what D-bag stands for.
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of these guys picked these cars up because they were cheap, and so it was an affordable ticket to Exotica. Because look, this is as head turning as any car in the world. You'd look at this, and to the uninitiated, it would be as mystical as a Lamborghini Countach, and yet a Countach is a $750,000 car. And now these are bringing over six figures. It's just not the same from a performance standpoint. Like I said, they're a little bit underpowered and they're a little bit heavy. And so, by today's standards, this is not a fast car at all. You'd be much better off buying an Integra R than driving this up Angel's Crest. You know what I mean?
So what's this car? What's going to happen at the end of this auction? Is it going to? Are you going to have to be a trust fund kid to buy this thing?
Yeah, JP, our car has 4 days till close on Bring a Trailer. Again, offered by Griot's Motors in Tacoma, Washington. Our car is sitting at approximately $78,000 on a whopping 6 bids. So it's got a long way to go. But I've had to do a little research to get my head around what this car is worth. John, this car, I'm going to say $168,000 brings it home.
Wow.
On basically 27,000 miles. If this car was like, say, below 15,000 miles, I'd say this car would be in the $175,000 to $200,000 range. But because of the miles, not the condition, and say it looks like it's only had like 2 owners, certainly not either of those factors. I think it's just going to bring a teeny bit less than the top of the market. And so I'm going to park right under that 170 threshold and get back to you at $168,000 and then ask you what you think.
Wow, that is a lot of money. Griot's Garage, if you guys haven't tried their products, and they are not a sponsor of the car, I'm sorry, they're not a sponsor of this show. Griot's Garage is we would love to have them as a sponsor, but I've been using their washless detail spray for years. They are one of the best manufacturers of cleaning products. Maybe second only to our good friend Big Mike here in Las Vegas, who just started his own cleaning product. So maybe compare those two. But I didn't even realize they had a dealership in there. They've got a really cool facility that hosts car shows and that kind of thing in Washington quite a bit. So great people. I got to take your word for it on the price of this car. Your number was 168.
Yep.
So really the question I've got to say is, are things going nuts on these, like you say? Are they continuing to go up, or are we hitting the brakes on a lot of these really crazy prices?
It's hard to take take perspective on this, because even though 348s have gone up in value in the last couple of years, you could still find a nice 348 for a lot less money than what this car is going to bring. And I'll go back to what I originally said. The 308 ran for a long time for Ferrari, and they finally had to evolve the car and make the 328. But that model and the Ferrari brand was built on the GTS. So in this era, there were, probably out of every 10 cars, I would say 8 or 9 of them were GTSs. So I think the big reason why the value on this car is so extraordinary is that the production numbers are so low. And I will contest with Griot's Garage that they did not make 1,386 GTBs. They made probably less than 400, and that's what I believe. And I think that's why this number is going to go so crazy. So I'm gonna leave it at 168, and we'll see what actually happens. I don't think the miles should hurt it too bad, but the condition is so nice.
There is a mention on the Carfax that says there's a possible odometer rollback.
Right.
So based on that and that only, knowing how persnickety Ferrari buyers have been in the past, new Ferraris or newer Ferraris, more modern stuff is being bought by a lot of people who have recently gotten money, people who are younger, people who just don't care about, a discrepancy here and there or whatever. But something like this being full-blown collector, I'm going to say that does affect it. So my bid that I'm pulling out of my butt, I'm going to bet the under and say 160 just because of that.
Okay.
And we will see what happens. I really don't have a lot of confidence in my bid. But we're all going to find out whether or not I'm right or Michael Deeb is right after this break. But before we reveal how much this Ferrari sells for or doesn't on its respective auction, why don't you hit the subscribe, like, and notification button? Do that right freaking now. Okay, guys, I want to tell you about Vegas Auto Fest. The drivers are coming. This is one of our big sponsors. It's the biggest car show of the year in Las Vegas. It's one of the coolest car shows you can possibly experience anywhere. If you haven't made plans to be part of Vegas Auto Fest on September 17th, then do it now. Go to vegasautofest.com and register your car. You think you're a car enthusiast? Doesn't matter where you live. Plan a trip to Vegas on September 17th and come out and see this show. It's like Monterey Car Week all in a day. Have you ever been to the Quail? Have you ever been to Works Reunion? Have you ever been to Amelia Island? All those car shows are amazing and great. Have you been to Luftkult? Sure, but Vegas Auto Fest is something special. Make a plan for September 17th. We'll see you in Vegas. All right, guys, welcome back to Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on all the most interesting cars of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. We pick the most interesting car of the day, talk about it, make a prediction, and then we tell you what it actually sells for or fails to sell for on its respective auction. Today, we are talking about, you just saw a commercial. For us, it's been a week, right? So we're back.
Yeah.
Michael Deeb, what car are we talking about real quick, and what happened on this auction?
JP, let's talk about the A628 GTB that we were just talking about. That makes sense. This is your buddy up at Griot's Motors, Griot's Garage.
Griot's Garage. No T. Griot's.
No T, and no sale. Unfortunately, our car on Bring a Trailer really, and I would say weirdly, completely stalled out at 94,500. And John, you may recall from just a few minutes ago, we were way up in the 160s. I mean, I really thought this car was because GTBs from the 328 era are extremely rare. I thought this car was going to set a new high water mark. This car didn't even break six figures, so I'm not sure what happened. Let's see. I think there was a weird thing where somebody asked an unusual question of the seller, and I don't know what the question was because the comment was flagged as not constructed. So the comment that CLA Auto asked the seller at Griot's Garage was so bad that they expunged it off the comment page, but four other people chimed in talking to Mr. CLH Auto and said, how careless of you to ask that right at the close of the auction. What's your deal? So I don't know what happened. I missed it because I wasn't watching the close, but when I went to look and review the results of this, it was just a really strange thing. And so I'm not sure what happened there, and I'm not sure if that comment was responsible for this car not moving forward. But the seller seemed to try and defend himself to the commenter by saying the mileage is true and original. I just don't know what the deal is here. It's kind of a shame. Beautiful car. I imagine Griot's will have the car sold or offered in classified somewhere nationally in the next couple of weeks, but it's a really beautiful car. They're very rare. This one looks to be in excellent condition, and this result is a total bummer. And I just don't know what the story is to tell our viewers. But John, what do you think? I mean,
Well, I didn't catch that, but it's interesting you mentioned it. Well, for one, what day of the week was it that this ended on? Did we catch that by any chance?
We do. This, John, was on Friday. It was last Friday.
It was a Friday. Okay. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Fridays can be really hit and miss. I don't know. Do you think Friday is worse than the weekend, or because I feel like people are checking out on Friday, yet when people go in on Saturday or Sunday, they're really buyers. What do you think?
Yeah. I agree with you, but I'll quantify it. I'll say Fridays are seasonal. I think Fridays in the winter are good, but I think Fridays in the summer, I agree with you. Everybody's checking out. They're going to the river, they're going to the lake, or they're going to the country or whatever, and they're checked out. I still would prefer a Friday over a Saturday or Sunday, especially during football season, which hit me right in the head. My car, they tried to close my car on a Sunday during football season, and I was a no sale. So I'd rather have a Friday close. But then, you know, look, Bring a Trailer is closing cars in our time zone from like 11 a.m. until 3:30 in the afternoon. I'd much rather, if I had a Friday close, I'd much rather be in the morning than in the afternoon for the East Coast people. So it's weird. It is kind of a crapshoot with them. I don't know what the deal was, but it's a bummer that this car didn't. This result doesn't dictate what the market is on that car, and that's the main point here. 94,000 is not the thing. Us at 168 for me and 160 for you might be high. Maybe this car is only worth 150, but we didn't find out. We can't quantify that based on this result. I just think there was a problem with the listing, and it might have had to do with some fucking peanut gallery guy, you know? So anyways.
Yeah, there's some chicken-ish stuff going on in these auctions, especially in the comment section, or specifically in regard to the comment section. I sold a set of wheels a couple of months ago. You know, it wasn't really a big deal. It was a set of wheels that typically on BAT have been bringing $5,000 or $6,000. Very recently very near my auction too. It's not like we've seen a big dip in the prices of these. And mine only got to like 3,000, and it was because right at the end. I mean, we were talking right at the end. A jackass. His name was what was that guy's name? It was. I'm gonna find him. I mean, it was 997. Go ahead.
Did you ever formally complain about him to Bring a Trailer? You and I discussed this offline. I went after him in the comments section. I tried to shoot him down, but your wheels closed and sold, but not for the money that the wheels and you deserved. You know, like it wasn't the correct value.
Porsche Dave 997.1 is a chicken-ish. Okay, I'll just say it. You're a chicken shit, Porsche Dave 997.1 on Bring a Trailer. I think that if you ever get a flagged comment, that should be a mark next to your profile. Right. I mean, it's just you shouldn't be allowed to ever. I mean, I'm almost like is it a three strikes you're out, one strike? I mean, it's like sometimes people dip out and they apologize, but this guy like doubled down and he kept trying to come back with just the dumbest comments.
Yeah, to remind everybody, JP, you were selling your wheels, and as your wheels were about to take off in the final moments, he came on and said, "Oh, you can buy this same set of wheels on eBay," and he was literally directing potential clients of yours to a different site, and I lost it. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like that's super malicious. Like, what are you doing? Like that. It's absolutely out of the spirit of why you're allowed to comment." And so I wanted you to formally complain to Bring a Trailer, and I'm wondering if you did that. Did BAT ever respond to you?
I did not. It's one of those things. It's like, how much of my life do I want to be wrapped up with this? I do have a car that is going up for sale on BAT very soon. So I don't really want to rock the boat at the moment. I hate to say it. I'm, talk about being chicken-ish. I don't want to have to sell my car in P-Car Market, which would be, I'll take the D-bags that occasionally populate the comment section of BAT over having to sell my car on maybe one of the lesser sites. So Porsche Dave 997.1, and the thing is, again, he was malicious because it wasn't just a a mistake. He doubled down. He also admitted that he wanted to buy these things. He had asked a question, and I answered the dang question, but he didn't see the answer in right? a time that was that he was happy with, and so then he's going to come out and try to sabotage my ad. I think a guy like that should have been removed from the platform altogether. If there's any inkling that you were malicious, this should be ban stick all the way. Like, not even. Yeah. It shouldn't even be a. I mean, come on. What good are you, Porsche Date 997.1?
Yeah. He was a total jabroni. Yeah. And I think that our seller here up at Griot's Garage in Washington, I think they are also the victim of another jabroni that just. Dude, if you don't have something nice to say, I mean, didn't we all get that lesson from Thumper's mother? If you don't have something nice to say, shut the F up. So anyways, this result is really disappointing, I think, for all of us. I was excited to see where this car was going to go. Again, not the best driving car, but certainly one of the more iconic silhouettes that has ever come out of Italy. A beautiful car, really neat, and maybe we'll notice it again and see what happens with that car down the road. But John, that's it for now. We'll see if we do.
Well, hold on. So let's talk about that for just a moment here. A car that fails to sell on Bring a Trailer. Now, what do you do as a seller? I mean, is this car burned?
In this case, I would say the car is not burned because clearly this result is not reflective of a whole market for the car. This is a botched auction. You know what I mean? This is it got thrown out of court kind of thing. Yeah. So we didn't find out the truth. I would say that I bet you, and it would be the wrong place. Cars and Bids will probably say no to this car because it just came off of Bring a Trailer, and I just don't that. What's his name? Dero has the audience for this car, but I think this car can go to P-Car Market. I don't think it'll get 168 or your 160 at P-Car Market, but they might get $145,000, $150,000 for this car at P-Car. And I don't think that this lot will be burned. I think they'll talk about it like, oh, well, some guy said something crazy and then it failed to sell. It didn't even break $100,000. Everybody will recognize that's not the real value for the car. So I don't think this one is burnt. I just don't know if the seller feels like risking it again by putting it on P-Car Market. He may not want to do that. He may just put it in a classified or Auto Trader or take it to an auction in Monterey or some crazy thing like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Griot's Garage gets a lot of attention. A lot of people walk through that place. This particular facility, if the car is actually sitting, I don't know, was this a consignment car or is this actually their car?
I don't know.
Yeah. So, I got to think that there's a bunch of people that have seen this car. It's gotten a lot of attention, and someone may just come in and make a decent offer. I don't know if I would go through the trouble of starting over, although I think you're right. P-Car could get up there higher. Yeah. What do you think the reserve was on this thing?
I would think the reserve was 150. I would think they were thinking big money for the car, but they could set that reserve at P-Car, and P-Car will take these guys. Like,
yeah, well, P-Car will take anything. I mean, come on.
He'll take anything.
That's not to say that the car is actually worth that. It's just that P-Car is a bunch of horse. I mean, let's face it.
P-Car is the nickname in Long Island for pants around the ankles. So, but anyway, I agree with you. These guys have a good reputation. Somebody might just call them offline, knowing who they are, and make some offers on this car. So we may not actually see this car. It may just sell privately, but they could take it to P-Car. I think that could be an option for them, or they just leave it until somebody walks in and falls in love with it. And why wouldn't you? That's a beautiful car. It's a collector car. Maybe not a driver, but a collector.
A lot of talk over the weekend over recession and things like that. How much of a factor do you think that played in?
I don't. Not with this. I just think something happened and all the buyers clammed up and didn't pursue this car for whatever reason. Whatever that guy said, I think that's what happened. I don't think it's a recession.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Another episode of Bid Nerds. Stick around, or no, stick around. Get out of here. Go home. Do something else. But come back tomorrow. But before you come back tomorrow, hit the subscribe, like, and notification button. We'll pick another car to talk about as the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. Find out what that is in just 24 hours from now. In the meantime, thanks for watching. We will see you guys mañana.